Welcome everyone. I am Evelyn. For those of you who've never been here before, I have a twin flame message on the table here and a lot of downloads that came in, some very specific information. So if you can watch the whole thing, it's very interesting. So here we go. I'm going to actually do the read on the table for you first. This was back from May 22nd. And then all of the downloads I've gotten since the 22nd, which was a lot actually. So, and today is the Knight of Wands. Today's the 25th. Today is Saturday, and then we have Memorial Day on Monday, which I didn't realize until one of my messages came in. And we just had the full moon on the 23rd. All right, so we're coming off of the full moon here. And this read was done on the 22nd. So this was the full moon energy here. So this is just the SIRIAN Starseed deck. This is the underlying energy here. And these are the cards that came out. I did clarify with my Rider Waite as well. And here goes this message here. The underlying energy here is the Page of Swords. And then I'm going to give you the underlying energy below that as well. Below that was the Lovers and the King of Swords, the Four of Cups, the Strength card, the Five of Pentacles, the Seven of Cups, the Seven of Swords, and the Four of Wands. And then we have the Page of Wands, the Star, and then the Page of Swords, which in the mini deck comes up reversed, and the Page of Wands comes up upright. The Star is upright as well. So Justice of Lovers, Libra or Gemini perhaps, King of Swords, an island to himself, wishing on a star, to burst through the ring of fire, to the hermit in the Mary Magdalene cave. The Tion comes up here, which is Tion, is the Tiger-Lioness connection, and Lion's Gate. The hermit in the ice cold, above the group observing and learning how to put crystals together. Sand castles and ice castles with the veil between, spiraling upward to ground heaven on earth, past messages, climbing up with the risk of falling, planting seeds of union as the sun dawns at Merlin. So Merlin is also the fortress at the top of the castle, as that flame there is really going. 1111 comes up here. So again, the 1 year, 1 month, 1 day, and 1 hour, from last July 7th, which was a Valentine's Day, 777, through this Lion's Gate, which is 888. The Page of Wands rises in serious connection with the Page of Swords, evergreen, from flame to light and orbs, and that little light of mine, or Aquarius message brought forth as the Page of Wands gets ready to climb her ivory tower, however cold it may be. So now we're going to go into the clarifiers, okay? So the Ten of Cups, emotional fulfillment, family, Niagara Falls comes up here, bridging Canada and the US, and there's a lot about bridging here today. The Holy Grail topping the cake, building as an emotional support system to spread the light. The Page of Swords growing to the Knight of Swords on a rock high up under a tree, sending 5D messages to mini-me. In Dolphin Catch on the other side, the Orb of Buoy, which Buoy came up again with the messages yesterday and today, an Orb of Buoy that's more dense, a Porpoise. Porpoise comes up again today as well. A porpoise always right there, just below the surface, as the Knight of Swords plays ball with the truth, Excalibur, making a trade to become a real live boy. With the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Sunshine exposing all, as Pegasus leaps through the ring of fire. The Sunflower, the King of Wands shaman, waiting on the other side, with the sun at his left shoulder. Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Or a Denver sunset here, perhaps, as the Bengal tiger leaped first for the win, and Pegasus happy just seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. The white Bengal tiger and snow lion, and Pegasus flying close to the sun. The Page of Wands, the Star, and the Page of Swords down here in the underlying energy, with the Page of Wands upright and the Star upright, unable to get their message across. Or there could be a negative Aquarius here. Strong Page of Wands, Leo or pet, wanting the Hermit reverse attention, coming out on a quest, out in the cold, back to the grind, or partners forming, with a plan to save or be more practical, and then reassess if things are not working or if it's too much, going out, or retail therapy to release anxiety and come full circle, whole and complete. The Page of Wands, Leo or pet, with Virgo reversed and Pisces upright here, or Divine Feminine or neighbor, as the first card out is the Ten of Cups reversed, ending a cycle that's probably way overdue to be over, or dealing with an unhappy family after seeing things, or perhaps synchronicities, angels, or too many choices. Patience needed in heated exchange, with the High Priestess, quiet, the Wounded Warrior reverse, surrendering or giving up, ending the cycle, tunneling through, and the Knight of Swords reverse, verbally abusive or just shutting down, very sharp with their truth, and a painful end, or the King of Wands wanting to end the pain due to their foolish behavior, or a pain in the ass, perhaps knocked for a loop, with Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo upright, and Aries reversed. Then back to the underlying energy of the Rider-Waite and the Nine of Swords, after the Ten of Pentacles and the Page of Pentacles both upright here, that energy of wealthy family or abundant business or community, and the Page of Pentacles, just learning, but curious in downturn, or tired and clingy, as Libra and Scorpio are reversed here, and there may be some arrogance and breaking their heart, as the King of Swords reversed with the Queen of Pentacles reversed and the Knight of Swords reversed, may be unfair with the Page of Cups reversed, or in rejecting suddenly, having to start over and stressed out or can't sleep. All fire court cards here were upright, and all air court cards were reversed. So fire's good, air's struggling here, with air fanning their fire, which then overwhelms them and smothers them. They can't breathe due to the smoke or the dirty air, the ashes, as Leo, Saggy, and Aquarius are all upright here, Virgo reversed or fiery child, and Virgo not having it, or trying to deal, but sending messages due to an unhappy family and holding their tongue, or holding back an announcement or poor delivery of the truth, exposing the King of Wands shaman, or Leo's inner child. In disconnect or distant with no peace at home or in union, looking back at frustrations with the Queen of Swords reversed and sovereignty from the Knight of Cups reversed, or a child who freed themselves from their parents, or children of divorce and detoxing from abuse, with Taurus, Capricorn, Taurus again, and Empress all reversed here, at work hanging out, and the hanging man at work alone, still looking for a new perspective, with Pisces and Capricorn upright here. Perhaps two are divorcing but still working together or dealing with kids, and like fire and ice, unhappy emotions, one with truth and one with energy, or being emotionally abusive by forcing and or demanding the truth but without offering love as well. Fanning the King of Wands' flames to be more patient and positive. As the King of Swords reverse is starting over, emotional, dealing with birth, to birth and be out in the cold or going through a dark night, and then taking the steps to receive messages of union, stability, and 777 to 888, and 44, April 4th to 77, July this year, and then 88, or fire and ice hermiting until they work it out, failure to launch, the truth not setting the King of Wands upright free, perhaps children struggling with mothers or grandmother while father, or the cheese stands alone. Post-war, PTSD and burdened, Atlas, working hard to get over grief, to heal and move on as the Knight of Pentacles upright, to make a friendly offer and receiving a loving response, after drained, burned, or scammed and manipulated, and given no options but to rest, meditate in 5D connection. With the Queen of Cups reversed, we have Aquarius upright and Leo, Gemini, or Virgo reversed here, and the Queen of Cups reversed, feeling a failure or emotional in need of attention, or she's stuck with another wanting their attention, or without a ride or car, or no movement at all. As the Page of Swords, the Emperor, and the King of Cups are all reversed here, perhaps stuck traveling with them, perhaps in the same car, or perhaps grieving together, but in close quarters, with the King of Cups reversed offering the Ace of Pentacles, some kind of new time, money, or energy, or even a new life, and the Ace of Swords, the whole truth or information. The group giving them some money and truth and info, sending them on their way, as the King of Pentacles and Three of Cups are reversed, perhaps an outsider, not coming together, or deemed a bad influence, or ungrounded and socially detached. As the Knight of Wands upright with Lover upright, or Gemini rushing back to save the day, after coming clean or cleaning up the mess, defending their ground for poor judgment or no decision, with the Queen of Wands upright and the Six of Cups reverse kids, or their falling out and bad memories about that, and at night keeping to themselves. Perhaps one on call and the other stuck at home with the kids or pets, and silence for peace of mind, silent, unaware, or purposely pretending not to know, or was a bad decision to stand their ground, or clean up and go, because then the Queen of Wands upright shuts down and clams up. All right, and actually I want to point out, though, that the King of Wands and the Queen of Wands are both upright in this read. The air signs are the ones that have been reversed, so they may be shutting down verbally or lashing out verbally or withholding information. Okay, so now on the 23rd, which was the full moon, I was watching Diaries of a CEO, the one about the exercise neuroscientists' new research and the shocking link between exercise and dementia. Okay, so I'm just watching, just interested. And the first two things she brings up were two important parts of the brain, which she lists as the hippocampus, which is long-term memory, and defining it as the seahorse, which of course right away Pegasus comes up for me, because Pegasus has been coming up all week, and the prefrontal cortex of shift and focus and attention, which she was talking about exercise and meditation being really good for this. She was inspired by her Peru trip. So as soon as she said hippocampus, I had to go back and do my downloads because it was coming in right away. So again, we have this representation of two pies, right? So two circles side by side with a line down the middle of each, and then a line across connecting the two, right? One representing the 3D and one the 5D, and then the crossing of the bridge of dimensions, but also represents, of course, the toroidal field and the apple. Okay, but with an H in the middle. So as soon as I saw this, I wrote down hippocampus, seahorse, and Pegasus, so I was getting HSP. And so I looked up that acronym. And again, all of the definitions around hippocampus, because that was what was sparking my interest here. So HSP is highly sensitive person, but also highest shoulder point, which is a universal access chakra point. And then People's Voice Party came up. And SHP, as in ship, also came up here. House and carriage without the I, or, you know, a ship without a chakra system, basically. And then H space came up. And that is topological space X, assumed connected and together with a continuous map. So this is like a mathematicals, which was over my head. But I ultimately was getting the energy of a planet. And then X marks the spot on that planet, a location on this continual sphere and map, a location on Earth times itself to self's location named E, so that the world, EX equals world XE, And the atlas and world, again, the X and E was coming up as the self, yourself, or me, Evelyn, and then the X as the child equals the world, which the world, the other direction also is equal, right? So world, Evelyn, child is equal to world, child, Evelyn, or a child for all children in this location. So again, that was coming up from mathworldwolfram.com. So you can, of course, look up H space if you'd like to. So continuous binary operation, so that there exists a point, and I can't remember all the names of all the symbols, but with the property that the two maps lead to EX and XE. Both maps with the same topic in relation to the map ID X on X preserving E. So anyway, transforming in and out of each other continuously was the energy coming up from that, right? So the energy of weaving back and forth. And with commonalities, something that bridges them. Both maps lead onto the other. So again, crossing dimensions, one earth to the next plane, and vice versa. So the weaving, there has to be a commonality here in order for the bridge to connect. So then SPH, I was doing all the different variations of this acronym of HSP. So SPH is sphere and small penis, humiliation. SPH is also Egyptian, to lasso, to capture with one's words. SP apostrophe H was army, and army had come up from hippocampus as well, as far as the South African Defense Force carrier. And the horse, the Hellenistic city, with hippocampus. So army, to swell, be great, increase profit and advantage. And then HPS, literally for me, is hippocampus. Hantavirus, pulmonary syndrome, but also HP is horsepower. And of course, you know I always talk about Mr. Ed, so here's horsepowers. And then HPS is also foreleg of an animal, but strong arm of human, and strength, the Big Dipper, and Kopesh, which is an ancient Egyptian sickle-like sword. PHS also came up, which is U.S. Public Health Service, and PSHU, which is water, and the expression of Pshaw, you know. So, and Japanese, Japanese personal phone system was coming up there too. All right, and by the way, on Diary of a CEO, she was demonstrating a human brain, and she named it Betty, which I just want you to remember that because that comes up at the end here too. All right, so hippocampus equals seahorse equals Pegasus. South African armed horse carriage and or city, which is like home, the SHP, the home and carriage, and the Trojan horse comes up here, of course, being like the Freedom Train and Pegasus. So Latin campus or campos is to bend, curve, smooth, or corner. Field, area, excellent, and splendid, that the horse is splendid. Where the field bends or smooths, the light field, the white light field to the rainbow, and the water field where the waves break, right? So again, referencing different examples of static and motion, okay? Or the breaking of something, right? To open it up to something new. So the white light breaking into the colors of the rainbow, and the water of the ocean breaking at the waves. The Trojan horse like the Freedom Train, horsing around and training. Both home and carriage, a ship without a chakra system, without a system, a template, a protocol, or program. So again, even the chakra system is a program. A horse with no name, both fresh and salty, and training and horsing around. The horse, the city, the home, the field, strong-armed and well protected with animal instinct. Where the horses comes, so here the horse is coming up as the horsees, and again the reference to Mary Magdalene. Where the horsees came puss, or pus, and Puss in Boots was coming up right there. And camp us, to be the infection, infiltrating the enemy camp to free from within. The mindless animal, or in other words, the Trojan horse, the talking head, Mr. Ed, herd his cow, his flock of sheep, the donkeys and the monkeys. Okay, so the dawn is the earth springing, shifting, focusing attention. So then this goes back, right, to the energy of the frontal cortex. And also referencing the axis spin or movement of the neck, right? The axis moves the atlas. And then the monkeys, M-O-N, comes up as the mountain and the long-term memory of the hippocampus. Atlas, static, head, and map of intent, which, remember, in that math problem was continuous. It never stops. It keeps going around and around. So this comes up now as the donkeys and monkeys is D and M, and then the T of source, the tyon of the tiger lioness, keys. The long-term memory has you spinning, both on the don keys and the mon keys and the source keys, tyon keys. Of the tyon is also the combination of the twins coming together, but it comes up here as DM, the divine masculine source connection being on, and the keys to this. So then DMT comes up, dimethyltryptamine, or double mini trampoline, which is an aerial sport, A-E-R-I-A-L, and then that comes up as AE, which is Asher, bright light, and real, and then sport is Sophia's port. The Pleiadian real-wise port, shifting ancient memories, with the pi symbol circle with the line down the middle, and 1v1, which is the same. M and pi, in essence, are the same thing because a line is two dots, and it's actually not straight, it's an arc. All right, so 1, 1, 1 is the same as pi and M, but M has a V in the middle, which is creation, and the two ones on the outside is co-creation. By making, here's the energy of shifting ancient memories, but one's in the form of the circle pi and the other's in the form of M, but they're really the same thing. And we shift this by making them the same, just like in a math problem, right? You make them the same on both sides, so then you can calculate. Pi and pi next to each other, which, remember, D is short for pi, and D represents the axis spin of the earth, not just the earth being static. And then N is short for M, and there's that energy of Christ and Mary Magdalene. The earth moving dimensions, and Christ moving mountains. Remember, the earth represents the mother. Earth moving dimensions, and Christ moving mountains. Taking two IMs and making them the H, the human able to leap dimensions in a single bound or in a simple bond, James Bond. Divine Mount Tremblant also came up because it's named Mount Tremblant because it's a mover and shaker. It's a wobbler. So here's that reference to the earth again. The divine mount is the Don and the Mon and Tremblant keys to move and shake and get them to wobble. So who is the human, who on man, and who's on first, and ohms on last. And here we have on and N, which is the A and E of Ash and the A and E of Adam and Eve. And on, though, is also on Anu, as in the father Anunnaki, and then En, for me, represents JC, but also Ea, which is Enki, and Poseidon. It's all the same. So human was coming up as human, plural, which also means threshing floor. And again, the Mount Tremblant, which is the shaker and mover, wobbler, but it's still strong and still at the same time. So who's on first and ohms on last And here's that energy of alpha and omega, of on and Ea. And disgust, as in also discussion, comes up here with space, room, gap, and unused time here. Water, earth, and grand moss, or ground and moss. House, guts, tongue, God, and blood. And I'm amazed because so many of these things came up later in my messages, which I've forgotten about. So on is A key, and Ea is coming up as N key. So again, representing all these keys. But on, or number one, is A, is also A key. A key is A key, and Aki, A-K-I, which means naive child, of another land, or the who. The monkey comes up here, and the grandfather, and AKA, or their alias. And battery and accumulator, as well as left swing, all came up there. So as we go on here, we have the blood and guts with a strong voice in tongues. Space-time here, both earth or land, water, and moss, to rehab with algae and algae perhaps. The house of disgust and disgust, or discussion. The growth between land and sea, easy, or E and Z. The temple of the sleeping Christ with unused time and running out of space. Where time is T and lowercase I and me, it's Ed, medicine, at Sophia's pace. So time and space. Getting soul, or L, to give up the light at the end of the tunnel to make her pace, park, place. Sticking an L in there. Laced with I, me, and time out for love and evolving. I, Mr. Ed, me, medicine. Mr. Ed, I seen, I've been there, I've done that. But also I move. Mountains from the past. Ed, right? I worked, ED, I did it before, long ago, I've been there, done that. The temple of one equal and congruent to the Earth's axis and spin, the inner child's informed consent, and INE, which is a reference to something, but also means number 4, water, I, jaguar. So this is God now saying, I'm not the tiger, I'm the jaguar. Family crest, in, he, henna, I, girl, Friday. And then nail, claw, talon, all of these hoof-type energies, as well as cloven. So I looked up, it was 313, and Teddy was asking me to let him out. So I looked up 313 because that's the 31 of the 5 of Wands, which is chaos and life, and then 13, which is control and death. And when I looked up 313, the first entry was cross, which has to do with the bridge at the intersection. The second entry was Mary Magdalene bloodline. All right, so we have the vertical pillar and the horizontal pillar and the Mary Magdalene bloodline here. And by the way, cross was also 444, and Magdalene bloodline was 900 and 150. So, and the third entry was hex, H-E-X, which is the human temple of the X, or the female chromosome, or the chromosome's dance. Also the cosmos, eternal flame, the dates, sapphire, the father, golden arches, and biofeedback mechanism. December 18th, breath of God, and Gestapo all came up. A rose lineage, I'm going to bed. Romantic and letter C came up together, as well as declaration of Lionheart. It's happening. Heartagram. All of those came up under 313. So as I said, and then this was at 324 to 25, which is the Queen of Wands and the Knight of Wands, and this was on the 23rd, which was the King of Wands. And so today is the Knight of Wands, yesterday was the Queen of Wands, so all the Wands characters have been coming up this week. So 313 being 31 and 13, of life and death, chaos and control, law and order, Agent 99 and Get Smart, and Bond, and Moss, rehab with algae and algae. All and L gay, or all happy here, A and E, L and L, ash and egg, me, med. I seen, Mr. Ed for short, aka an alias, an ass like Asus or ass like Zeus. But AKI is a key, an alien JC or N-key. I am Master Ed, Earth, and Ea, Arth. I, an infinite ear, but Ea, Arth. I am Earth, but he is Arth, he is. And it's not the same. You see, I, Ed, E divine, but Ea is Ea of An, or Anu. I'm medicine, Mr. Ed. I move, a mover and shaker, to wake up Sophia, Ea's wise mother. I am me, Dicey, and I am me, Princess Di. See, anything goes. The Christed Temple, I am the cat in the hat, and George is man with a yellow hat. I wear many hats. And I am many cats, but also Muhammad, which is a cow, a ham, and Med, Mr. Ed. I know it's AD, but I'm AD too, after and before, mad and dad. I am for the lambda leap, to water or water, one who wots. I am the jaguar, not the tiger. I am source energy of the tiger, but I have many other energy sources, because I'm source. Of course, of course. He at in and Girl Friday going out. I am claw, nail, talon, hoof, clothing too, pertaining to all, but especially alkaline substances. It's 4:11 now. Emergent information. I am me, die, C in E. Me, two C's with an I in the middle, or in other words, pi, one equal and congruent to pi. Einstein finally got a piece of the pie. On the east, or Easter, Esther, star side, a deluxe apartment in the sky. So you see, I am me. Pi, 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 pi to infinity, or peeing in the pod with two, or live streaming. My aim is quite great. The tiger of tea and 8, time out to eat and trick or treat. I get her every time. Sophia's tone, of course. I'm so light and she's so fi. We feel as Philadelphia, the city of brotherly and sisterly love. And Wi-Fi? Well, Y is in left field, and F, or phi, is digamma rays, intense from the sun, pushing and pulling, but who always first, and M always ohm. Today back and forth in energetic exchange with tomorrow. And so it is, and I am yours always. Signed, Medicine. I make you all better. And this is where Betty's brain comes up. I make you all better, right? One who bets. Or Betty. Be pi or share equally. Equine, pertaining to horses again. An ally, of course. A second course, please. A plea, you see, to share with your other dimensions. So it comes up as two men, S-I-O-N, with threshing floors here, right? The men, the who-men, the human, and then two human tions, which is the tiger-lioness connection with shifting floors. Two mentions and mansions, and two human source connections. Die me, two me's, divide me, as normal saline, or NS, which N for me is Christ, so Christ, Sophia connection. You have to turn the light on, but then I can share equally with Sophia and you. But you have to ask. By asserting your power, command it is so L and Sophia. Ea, so like his mother, heart and soul. Hea took Ea from Sophia to create his own root, his Hea root or heart, while heaving, top dog, A and E is rocket and temple, vehicle and home, avatar and heart. Mover and shaker is always blasting off, and one equal and congruent to more silent partner at 5 o'clock, right on the dot. So there's that 5, which is the middle number with 2 zeros of source support. So again, the human or who's on first, and the one who Watts is on second. I don't know third. The human is Ed and extra dimensional, and Watt does energize. But I don't know third to get him to reach out to number 4, the lambda leap to father, so that father can come home to mother, the one who moths to flame, and father, the one who bathes and does math and reasons, composes poetry and song, one who matters, or gifts from God. So that was that story. As we then go on, and then we go to Friday, where Oh-ho comes up. All right, so I got a lot of stuff done, by the way, this week around the house. I had some projects, and I had some people here doing some work, so it's been a busy week, just, getting out in the garden, too. So I pulled a past life card in the morning on Friday, the 24th, yesterday. And this is at 11:34, the 11 of alignment and justice, truth and balance, and the 34, which is the 3 and the 4 of the vertical and the horizontal pillars of the eagle soaring, and then the lambda leap of the father vertically, but also the energy of the earth, 3, which is the Taurus mother, and then the 4 of the Aries father energy here, blasting off. As we have the past life deck, the underlying energy was Native American, and the TP picture, and I just bought toilet paper at the grocery store, which was really funny. After a new ship came in with tools or supplies to also take care of the house. And perhaps, again, taking care of your family. The ship coming in, or perhaps came in, to the carpenter and high priestess and a portable home, or new teepee, or space shuttle landed, a prisoner freed perhaps. And then we have she, S-H-I, with B-I coming up from the cards, and hi, H-I, and whore, or by, or Native American, B-H-I, which means to be and exist, unforgettable, I've and am, so I have and I am, the temple equal and congruent to Rican, which is the rich realm, kingdom, empire, authority, reign, powerful branch, twig, and rice. So then the 2 pies came up again that are connected by the H, which is O-H-O. Because then now we have the H, it takes the lines out of the O's. So, of course, they're getting me to deal with this, and then the pi equals M, and W is the lower half of the 2 circles, so the top is the M and the lower is the W. So we have all these letters to work with, M-H-M or N and D, all the same in the end. The oh-ho means aha, or oops, wow, yes, to kill. Provisions, supplies, jump, hop, rush, overflow, interrupt, and to rise, flare up, and you. MHW is mean, high water. And then DHN with a T also came up as the forehead, the mountaintop, and the peak. And also NHD, which is Nun's Head in England came up, the station, with provisions to jump, to rise and flare up, or epiphanize, have an aha moment. Forgiveness of authority figures, with natives forgiving with a decision in their favor. The baby in the basket journals their feelings. As the knight upholds and protects, and then caulking came up with there as well, they uphold and protect these secrets, the ward of the courts. As the knight, without moving a muscle, like a virgin, is starving for love. So then there's this energy of Moses and the Caucasian baby in a basket, so to speak, but comes up as caulk again. and taken away from the tribe. And remember, Calc is filling in the boundaries, the spaces between. The baby taking away from their tribe, perhaps the authorities. Were they their inner authorities, right, of your tribe, or were they outer authorities, really, who you would feel have no business deciding whether this white baby should be in your tribe? That was the energy that coming up. And again, the energy of sticking out like a sore thumb and what this is doing to that child and how do they feel. And now wears heavy armor as an adult, starved for affection. And this also could be the adult's child being taken away from them. So again, the wounding of that child who was left or taken, and then the parent who's had their child taken away from them. Now forever on guard, especially protecting their loved ones, their home, and their food supply, as well as toilet paper. So Oho also comes up as Sophia's aha, which is Soho. All right, so Soho, New York, but also Soho, as in Mary Magdalene. And I then picked a card from the past life deck, and it was, again, the underlying energy of health. And the first card that came out was karmic relationship. Now, car had come up the other day as CHAR, and character, which is car actor. And again, with that H being the human factor, right? And karmic is car and mic, the mic being a vehicle, and relationship, again, another vehicle. The two circles and the H, right? The human in the car with a horn, and health regarding to car, microphone, ship, and quiet IP address, unknown. I'm getting return to sender. Taking the show on the road with the Rolling Stone, where the word health is infinite healing, and the armed energy of K of the inner child are the temple of angels, the tiger lioness, the Tyons, the ship, she, hip, and IP, source connection. The ship being still here, a she, right? Because ships are normally named after a female. So the relationship connection is coming up as relat connection, right? Relation, which is Latin or staff, monumental pillar, Buddhist columns in East India, or gold-backed Latvian or quote-unquote floating money that is no longer, replaced by ruble and British pound or euros, and latissimus dorsi muscle, the latitude, afraid, fear, lathe, state, chap, bloke, dude, penis, duck, or dick, but duck came up here too, and wide and broad. Ruler, yardstick, you see where this is going, milk and half ounce, lazy, late, or perhaps latte, with plural of years here, habit and custom all coming up there. Regarding Latinizing, Buddhist East India, monument pillar and gold-backed money, balance, lats, and light attitude, horizontal perspective, and human masculine fears, a broad chap, bloke, a dick, led by his penis or ego and yardstick, and mother's milk, lazy and latte, and bad habits, accustomed to armed energy of the inner child or defensiveness. The karmic relationship, a plane of kundalini, the snake and carrot stick, but now ship coming. She, high, sh, IP address, Sophia's hip, high housing, royal house, and floating house of the rising sun. Again, back to the two pies and the H in the middle. The IP, which equals indigenous people, insertion point or portal, inpatient, intellectual property, and IP means thread. Infinite read or read. Injured party, in possession. The internet protocol or IP address. Interpositive, PI reflected is IP, right? but it says, quote unquote, the ellipses of IP address, which again is that pi, 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 or Mr. Ed. Sophia's hip, she, P, sh, IP, shooting from the hip, off the hip. HIP, hip, means to sleep, to lie, and it means shoulder and to bend, projecting parts of pelvis and femur, inclined external angle formed by intersection of two sloping roofs or planes, where inclined or someone slanted with a tendency or disposition towards, inclined end posts meets the top chord, a drug addict, thorn, fruit of a rose, to see, to open one's eyes and be aware and informed, where the end of the slope meets the top chord, the HP word, which is the O, or human embodiment of source road, with two U's. To make knowledgeable, and hip hip hooray, to ride or straddle both worlds, to rise, go up, climb into, fashionable moment. Infinite healing from plane to activated ship, shooting from the bend at the hips, where inclination or end of slope ends at the top chord, which is CH, which is horsepower, and ORD, which is word, but it also is horsepower human road. The Sees word and tone, Mr. Ed's word and Sophia's tone, her song, heart, so L, and Sophia, here top dog, and soul, so light, his word, so she, the whore, sees the light, and her hearing the tone, so he feels the love. She, SHE, is the numbness, paralyzed. It rains, or to rain, she and he pours out or spills. Also I, me, and to die. Number 10, tooth, poop, to tear / scratch. Medicine, as Mr. Ed, and motherland. Mrs. Otherland is groovy. Mr. Ed, I movie. Me, Dick, in temple, or spinning inner child in the temple. Can't sit still. One who moths to the flame, light, and land, which is LAND. L and on that axis, spin of the earth. This L and on the spinning earth. The 4 is the lambda, or lambda father, one day. Atlas on axis spin, the land of mountains that spin, or this planet Earth. 1 on, which is also 1, in the middle of logarithm base 2 in 1. The land of the free to get burned by the light, and the home of the braves, the medic who heals, burns, and bites. And Lil, who holds down the light for Enki to break and fix. So again, there's that same energy of the doctor. And how to reverse engineer in order to learn, in order to build new things. So Enlil and Lilith, Enki and Kigal, or Eresh Kigal, which Eresh means talking head, the headland to Kigal's motherland. Two sets that open like the east. And the S. And then here comes up the toroidal field here with the two, and again the double diamond toroidal field with the two crazy 8s dancing with the star combining in the middle. The L of the bending light, or the lightning bolt of Zeus, and again, Enlil, and the key to the land and seas, or the trident, which is 3 holes in all. And again, the trident now is, I'm drawing that next to the 2 pies with the H in the middle. Which remember, H is also 8, which it's on the infinity. So I'll say the infinity with the H on it. So harpoon we have here as the lightning bolt and the pitchfork, and there's silverware coming up here as Sophia's spooning and Soul's forked tongue, which is so L or light, and Lil with word that cuts like a knife and that lightning bolt, the demolition crew. And Keys, who's like his mother, and Key with Sophia's tone and tuning fork and healing abilities. So if En and L have to work together and L comes first, then Key is okay. But if Key comes first, then kill happens. So L key comes up as a bad habit, quirk, native, and character. So there's that car actor or taking the show on the road. But keel, if Key comes first, or if L comes second, which he won't do, this is the energy of being on an even keel, bottom of the ship. How, like an Indian saying, how, as like cool to eat, tusk teeth, cuspid, and canines. His friendly how and his even temper brings out the worst and fangs in his brother. And again, the ship bottom, it brings out his nature, his bad habits, brings out the ship bottom, harpooning, and canines. So it's best if keel supports. But L is a bad habit. So in trying to work this way, the way he wants to work, since L is such a bad habit, Ia or Enki quits and how. L bends the light, which is now Ia's good reputation. So Ia rockets off, or takes an off, in other words. So now we have Ia and L and On, their father, which when you put them all together is Elon or Elon Musk. And if you take out the L of Enlil being between Enki and Anu, then we have Eaan, which is the temple of Christ and archangels, but no light. So Eal is tooth and noble, the saber-toothed tiger who shows their teeth and their stripes. And Leah of El and Ea is open ground or clearing, healer, the meadow and the field, to bind, leash, and cord, a set of warp threads. And then Rocky Horror Picture comes up with that as the time warp. It's time is fleeting, and madness takes its toll. So listen closely, not for very much longer, as I've got to lose control. I remember doing the time warp back in a moment when the darkness hit me and the voice would be calling, let's do the time warp again. And Spirit's connecting with me. So there's a quarrel, and by the way, Leah also means lioness, and Eel means tiger. So here's the tiger-lioness combination of the brothers, okay? So this is the tiger getting the lioness, right? The lioness sits out on the field proudly, right? They're all calm. But the tiger's not. They're showing their teeth. It's kind of like in The Lion King, right? To wiggle and move, right? So this is the tiger and little brother has to trigger the lion, who's very comfortable and proud of themselves, in order to get them moving, to wiggle, to move. They're not as inspired naturally as the tiger is. To be ripe and raise a child, to rear and care for, language and speech. So Ealan, which is Ea, El, and On, is an organism, to live, animal, with the L between Ea and On. And then Ea land, with an D on the end, is an island. Ea is land, or in other words, is L plus ET. He's more than that. An island in the water, or one who wots, or is all charged up. The infinite healing and karmic relationship, strong-arming tiger, lioness, ship, or mercy ship, I give. As Sophia's H connection and IP address. As IP and address backwards is PI and Serda, which means to use da. Her IP address is to address PI with H and sh IP, right? A secret IP or PI hush. PI is principal investigator, by the way, too. And then again, we have the H on the infinity. Two humans at home with sleepy eyes. Serta also came up with some words with commander, the Ottomans, Persian military. Commander, crumb, sleeveless, jacket also came up here. And again, the two humans at home, sleepy eyes, right? The I as in I am and the eyes as in your eyes, you see with. The caravan, mobile home, the happiness hotel, and the good ship, lollipop. A ship that flies, she housing. Sophia's high housing. 2 pi and the golden rule, or the golden mean, and golden apples. So now we have pi coming back into the scene. We have 3.14, which is pi, and the reflection of that, which is 4.13, and then the golden mean, which is 1.618, and the apple, right? Because that's the toroidal field, and 2 pi. And the apple for the teacher was coming up right here as the spiral, right? Because we have the different spirals. So the 1.618 is the golden spiral, but number 2 is the crystal spiral. So we'll get into that in a second. So when you add 3.14 plus 4.13, the reverse of each other, plus 1.618, it equals 8.888, which is great, right? We had the crazy eights dance, the 8-8 and the 8-8, dancing on both sides. But if you go into the crystal energy, it's 727 plus 2, which is also coming up as 7272, which 7-2 is the 4 of Pentacles, the divine masculine, in the bat cave. But it also adds up to 9.27, which is that 27, and May 27th also comes up. 27 is the 2 of the Q and the 7 of the boomerang, which is also that gamma energy. The old way of writing gamma was a backwards gamma. And the apple pie. After apple pie, IP. So it's PI and then IP. After apple pie, IP, or need to get the liquid out. Empty the bladder. So remember bladder, because that comes up here too. So now things are coming together. So without the apple of my eye, pi, and pi completely reversed and reflected is actually not IP, but 19, the sun. And we have this golden mean energy of this, double diamond field of 8-8 and 8-8 with the star in the middle, right? Like a new star, but with double power, right? Because you have 2 stars together and then exploding a third in the middle. And that's the energy we've been working with the double diamond energy. But also when you reverse 3.14, the number, completely reverse it, it equals pi, P-I-E. Right? So here we have that energy of the golden mean and all of that energy. And again, the apple pie, United States energy is going to come up from that as well, as our birthday's coming up soon in July, in Cancer season. But I was getting here too. So just like there's some things you can do that are good for your consciousness, that will get you higher than you are. But then if it's something like getting higher or something, it limits you because it's going to get capped in 4D. So you need to shift at that point in order to get higher up, right? It was good for you to get to where you are, but then you have to shift to get up to the next floor, so to speak. So this is what they're talking about here. Something that was good, none of it is bad. It's all good for your growth, right? But it can get capped, a limit on it. So you must then shift to the next. And here we go from the golden state to the crystalline state. And remember, line is the arc, the bridge, right? So crystal line is Krista bridge. And here we have that 7.27 and the crystal 2, and then 2 is Q, and Q is Vesica Pisces, right? Because the tail of the Q is the lead into the second circle, which is actually 3, because there's another one circling around, because just like the toroidal field is an apple from the side, it's a donut from the top. And there's that donut circles around an energy in two different directions. It's the push and pull of the hover engine, okay? So not only do we have these two stationary circles coming together, but we also have this horizontal spin of two, not just the third, but the third and fourth. Okay, this is why the 3 and 4 keep coming up together. Pushing and pulling in opposite directions, right? To hover, the hovercraft. So remember the capital Q is the 2 is the Q, and the Q is the Vesica Pisces, but it's actually the Q7, the 27 is Vesica Pisces because it's the Q, and then the 7 fills in that second circle behind the first. So not only is 3.14 reversed PIE, but PI completely flipped is 14, which is the Temperance card, or the angel, the patient angel, right, who shares, because we're dealing with pi here. And now in the middle we have the two circles, not with the H and the infinity, but now they're merging together, and then they become the H. The H here becomes an I, because now the circle of the other circle becomes the line, which isn't really straight, it's an arc. So then the line of this circle becomes the line that was down the middle of this circle, and vice versa, becoming the I and just a line across, the I in the middle. Okay, so now it literally looks like an I, right? So that's in the middle between 3.14 and PIE. So I'm going to show you, before I go on, I'm going to show you a picture, because I drew a bigger picture of them so you can get the energy there. All right, so here is where we're going, and I'm starting down here, and it works its way up to this little guy right here, so you can reference back to my pictures, okay? So then, since we have the 314 reflecting the pi, we're separating out the numbers now, as we've now merged the circles in the middle to 31 and 13 on the other side, which is really IE if you reflect it completely, which takes us into the Planck force, which is a ratio of energy and distance. And that's what the I and E are here. I is the distance and E is the energy of the Planck force. All right, so we have 31, and then the 4 and the 4 become two flags facing two different directions. And that flag also came up here as the Simpsons again, right? Because they have those pointy upper jaws that look like a flag sticking out. So we have two red flags together, and Bart Simpson, and Mo came up again here. And is this the Sister Sally? I couldn't remember. I think that came up too. And the Easter egg now open. So I wanted to show you that picture. So this is something I did a long time ago. Okay. This is a couple years back. All right, so it's a picture of two apples or toroidal fields together. And it looks like an Easter egg opening up, okay? So it literally, by merging the two together, both in their back and forth of the toroidal field, each with their own apple, the two apples coming together makes this flower in the middle, and it looks like two Easter eggs blossoming open at the same time, the twins. Okay, so now we have this energy, which is also like an origami, it's okay, it's just someone dropping something off. An origami fortune-telling thing that you used to do when you were young. I forget what they're called, but it's that origami that you open and close in different directions to get the answer to your wish. It's like an 8-ball game type of energy was coming up. So here we have the origami flower versus the 8-ball, so there's that comparison again. And IE comes up as that, as in, I water, yes, continuously at some point, every time, somewhere, a house or home, a blouse, lower part of the belly, especially of an animal. And again, that's coming up, and the guts. But also what will come up is the middle point on the body is just below the belly button. That's the balance, the point of balance to get your wish here. So then from the Planck force, it ends with the formula. It doesn't really matter what the actual math formula is. What it's my message is coming through. So FP, where F is force and P is Planck, also equals EPIP, which is E-pip, and pip is seed. So apple seed was coming up here. And again, there's a message that came through too with trouble breathing, but high quality. And it's really interesting too, because I found 2 seeds on my bed one morning, and they might be apple seeds, but here now Johnny Appleseed's coming up. So now the 2 circles in the middle, the Vesica Pisces with the line across there, and it's leading me to the trident, because to the bottom of the 2 circles is a W, right? And that's the lowercase omega is like a W. And then we have this energy of the trident, which has half arrows on the outer limbs and a full arrow in the middle, which is coming up on the W on top of it. We have the 3 of trident, and then the W coming up is the torus, right? Because it's the 2 circles coming together, right? For the core in the middle of the apple. That's the 2, which is also 2RS, or like Toys R Us, 2RS. And trident is tried, E-N-T, which is the talking tree, or the family library there. Okay, so we have the 31 with the trident, and then the 1-3 as the 2RS of the torus. And then now we have this trident form in the middle that I just showed you with the arrow on top of the trident, which then when you put it together like that, it looks like an arc de triomphe, a mobile pyramid, or home on the road, phased array, or home on the range. And if you want to know more about phased array stuff and this longitudinal inversion stuff, check out Dan Winter, which he's been on Elena Denon and Michael Sala multiple times. But he's very smart, so it's hard to keep up with him. So we have the arc here, ARK, and then the flagship of life and death, but also then NT is coming up from trident of need, but also ditto. So again, reflecting and copycat. The flagship of life and death. On one side is the group, the chaos, the conflict, the play, and the quest. Where the backwards E is 1. 1 and the same as the other side, which is in thee, the eye of the storm. I continuously at the same point, in water, yes. That is to say, I-E, say me, or same. They're both the same. Backwards E, which is 3 and 1, or I-E are the same. And then we get the TP in an upside down door in this picture too, capped with the special pyramid cap, I forget what it's called. And then the ring around the rosy, and the plank came up. And as I'm drawing an apple pie, the spaceship comes up as well. The plank force and walking the plank, the pirate ship or the Viking ship. Aye, aye, Capitan, which is the man in the yellow hat. Aye, aye is an aye, aye, Capitan, which cap is the crown, tan is the tan man. And then the 2 letter I's of I am, or 11, and then aye, aye of your eyes, 2 eyes, and the tan man with the yellow hat. And of course, George will come up with that, or the little monkey. So we have the apple and the apple pie, the toroidal field, and then this arc that's coming up. The energy of, so what happens? You have the 2 circles next to each other, okay? And there's actually a 3rd circle that goes around in a circle, because remember I told you from the top it looks like a donut, and we're looking at the apple. But what happens when those 2 circles squish together and overlap into the Vesica Pisces? There's a 3rd circle in there, which then gets squished into a long oval, but you can't see it. All you see is this line. And that's actually a circle of energy going straight back. You just can't see the whole circle there, right? We have this circle, and and here's the one between them that's now getting squished and put under pressure. And you see the tent-like look of there, and the Viking ship kind of look there. And again, we have this energy of being squeezed and can't see. Ring around the rosy, the trident, which is 3, and then the torus, which is 2, which is 32, or the journeyman bringing the good news. And then the Planck energy of E pip, which is the E of the temple, or 1 equal congruent to the seed. Pip is the seed. So at 3:33, I went back to the cards of health after the Native American, the baby, the male and female back to back, and then health, which led to the karmic relationship card that came out. And so as soon as I saw these cards, I thought of my grandfather, Papuli, and Yaya, because they were both doctors, which was very rare. You know, that never happens that a woman was a doctor back in their day. And here we have Pip and Pop and Papuli, but they weren't Greek. They just liked his Greek patients, what they called their grandmother and grandfather, so they had us call them Yaya and Papuli. It's all Greek to me. As then I was getting this energy of them having an Indian baby. Someone had a baby who gave it away, or was it my great-grandfather, David Lubin, who went across country and actually was saved by an Indian tribe because he had been friendly with them, whereas some of the guys he was with were not. You know, they were very violent. So here we have the male and female health and karmic affair. My great-grandfather, David Lubin, also has major wounds because his wife, he was a very public figure, but his wife had an affair with the mayor of Sacramento. So based on the propensity of nature and of free space was coming up in the definitions as well. So rather than, it was bringing up something about, rather than choosing a control like in an experiment, basing it on the natural property of free space. And here we are talking about, you know, reservations as well. All right. So E-PIP at 413, of course. And when I looked up the definition of E-PIP, the fourth entry was spot of light or inverted V. And so, of course, the inverted V is lambda. Which is that number 4, literally. It's under number 4. And then we have the reversed V, which is lambda, and which means return of radar waves reflected off an object or a blip. Defeat by a narrow margin or getting the better of somebody or something. The initial hole of the chick opening its egg to peep and chirp. Sprout, shoot, pipe, and tube. And at 420, pee-pee and penis. And a pipe, as in a smoking pipe, which is my grandfather, Papuli, used to smoke a pipe all the time. So again, Pip and Pop keep coming up here, or Papu, or Papu. Oh, Papu, that's where it's coming from. Ah. See now, Papu, there's something about, I always used to see my father as very Pope-ish. So I used to call him Poopy because I'd seen Pope written as Poopy, and then I could never find it again. So now they're bringing me back to like a tribal language as Papu and pipe. And now we have E-Pip, which is also Epiphany. And the pipe smoking, I couldn't clear my throat when I was saying those words earlier as I was writing them. And then H-A-M-Y, or epiphany, means single. But it also means slur, insult, blame, and how many, or to hurl, vomiting, fling, throw, or toss. And in Arabic, it means one who lives in happiness and tranquility. And again, Han is the happiness hotel with Y, which is lowercase gamma. So that strong gamma wave. So we have E and then the upside down V, which is Ia, but without the line across the A. And the line across the capital A it makes it a rocket for me in my symbols. So without the rocket, it's static, more like a TP, right? And then we have Han, and then the lowercase gamma Y. So Ia, Han, and Y. The spotlight returned, the initial hole in the breakthrough of Father and Son. Ia, H, on. So H is 1-to-1. So here's a 1-to-1 between father and son. Very interesting. So then Gladys Knight and the Pips came up, but I was getting Otis Day in the Pips for whatever reason. So then it was coming up as Oh, 'tis day, glad it's night. As Ia is single. In a E breakthrough, or Oho, Han Solo. In a range of spectrum, H1 so LD, or no, H1 so low. So the spectrum was coming up as the low end of the spectrum, with spots of light through a hole in the egg. And right as I was coming back to this later, there was a helicopter came in really low. As I was reading low just now. I didn't know whether it was a helicopter or a truck. It just felt so low. And so Han Twin Soul comes up here, and then the number 7, which is the boomerang and the key. Right, it's the old way of writing gamma, which is a backwards 7, basically. And the gamma constant coming up here at 0.57721566, which is when that helicopter came in really close. And again, the E of 1 equal and congruent to the seed that's single and the happiness hotel on the spectrum, which is low. The gamma ray and magnetic flux density of 1 NT, and NT was ditto, right? The photon and quantum of light, the flight path angle, or the spectrum, the array, the gamut, the range of tones and colors. Spectrum selection and assortment. Of the epiphany, which is the E pi fan E, which epiphany is striking appearance or shining display, as E pi was coming up, the 3 was coming up with the pi, and then the E comes up with the fan, which is the bidirectional motor. The I want to say overdrive, but it's the hovercraft motor. So we have pi, which is static with the 3 on one side, and then the E on the other side with this hover engine, where the fan hovers with a fan in 2 directions. On one side is the movement, right? And one side is still. The temple is still, stationed, which is stay, shun, ED, which is God. So it's staying tied to God, the temple that's still. And on the other side, we have movement temple, on the move and moving. Shared fan in energetic exchange. And then E pi fanny. They're funny sometimes, so then they're coming up as E with a fanny that's like a pie. And then we have EPI, which equals axe, and echo imaging of ends per inch, and weaving, energy per distance, and going back to Planck again, personal projection equipment, protection equipment also, projection equipment could be coming up too. And the echo scene, as sun it came up, of epi exchanged, or epinephrine, right? And then Fanny, I shine. And then Carol Channing came up, who's one who just shines with her smile, right? Reflecting epinephrine, I shine, Fanny, blush, and blushing bride. The epi-fan key boomerang. As we have the bathroom come up here, and to photograph, and bathroom is also the water closet. To photograph and luminous flux, the energy, the Planck energy per distance, and the pH, which is pH balance, but it's also plus health. And then I'm getting 1/7 of 17, and photometric unit of illuminance. As we go back to 527 here, which is coming up as a significant day. The 5, which is the middle number, and we're in May. And then the 2, which is the Q, and the 7, which is the boomerang, which together make the Vesica Pisces. So here we have the middle, and 527, which just happens to be Monday. And what came up before? The monkey and the donkey. And now we have Monday, which I didn't even realize until this moment was Memorial Day. And the day adds up to 40, which is Ea, or Enki, Poseidon. Oh, 'tis day, glad it's night, walking the plank with push and pull, turning inside out, through and through, sewing and weaving. So here's this energy, and this was at 6:15, which is a significant day for me. It's my brother's birthday, my daughter's conception, and twin communication comes up on that day as well. So pH is referencing that balance of pH, but also is the P of housing and the H of 1 to 1. And plus health, or positive health, is coming up here as we go on. And now I'm looking at the top of the page, and there's a picture of the Q of conception with the two flags on either side, and I was getting the clock tower. Right, so we have a clock tower downtown City Hall in Philadelphia, but Great Bend was also just coming up now. And the reason 527 also came together was because when you have Q, the tail, it's not often that the big hand and the little hand on the clock come together, but they come together at 527, okay? So May 27th, Monday, where both hands come together as two red flags, it's like, or two white flags in surrender now. As we come back to the infinity with the H on top that moved into the Vesica Pisces, and I'm just getting to be the lollipop because now it's the trident, like two lollipops on one stick. But then they have the arrows, which are invisible because the arrows represent energy, right? Half energies on either side of half arrows, and then the full arrow in the middle. So 527 is also 5 and 2, which when you write in block style numbers are the only two numbers that reflect each other exactly, 5 and 2. And so if you reflect 52 exactly and flip it over sideways as well, it's still 52 on the other side. Okay, so then we have the 7 of the boomerang and the key and the gamma wave at 527 as the Vesica Pisces comes together with that third circle compressed of energy going in two directions, the 27, where 5 equals SQ. So this is the 5 and 2 is S and Q. And then I was guided to draw the 8 again because the hourglass is in the middle of the 8 with the two halves separate above and below that hourglass that are the two separate, right? The 1 that's together in the middle and then equal and congruent to or side by side, where the hourglass is where time slows down to a halt, I'm hearing. So the squared versions of 5 and 2 are 2 and 5 and 5 and 2, the only double numbers that reflects the same. And remember what I said, if you want to cross the bridge, you have to make what's on both sides compatible with each other in order to meet in the middle, just like a math problem. So if dealing in letters and numbers, and don't forget, Fahrenheit and Celsius also come together at -40. It's the only time where their numbers meet. So there's 40 of Ea again, and the Page of Cups. So if dealing in letters and numbers, or apples and oranges, you must change to the same to bridge across, reflecting perspectives on the bridge and the right timing. So again, with the two circles, and the third circle being the donut spin in two directions of 3, not just the third, but the third and the fourth, spinning in both directions, woven through and through, 2 circles stationary, and then the third and fourth spinning between and both directions. The energy of being too close and give me some space, push, and too far, give me some time, pull. If you pull on the bridge, it could snap back like a rubber band. But if you push or pressure, it gets bossy or goosey or loosey-goosey or lazy or gives up or cracks to get out, right, under pressure. And again, this golden rule coming up. So get squared instead of the crazy 8 dance, because remember the square, when it turns, becomes a diamond. So the square is the X, but when you turn it onto a square, it becomes the plus sign. The golden rule is now the crystal square that's open for a hoedown. So instead of the crazy 8 dance, we're going into a hoedown here. The X moves to the plus sign, back to square one, a positive sign. Sub Q, Sophia sine waving, UBQ. And then Rubik's Cubes came up there too, 101, as I wrote LOL. Two U's transitioning across the rainbow bridge. Literally the letters U, B, C, U. Transitioning bridged from U to U. The communion, the calm union, or pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Go logarithm, or word and song, base 2, the square root of the problem. 2 square plus 1, or 5 altogether, saving 2 for later, juggling 1 and 2, but another 2 at the base. So coming at 5, or the middle, from 2 different directions, or 1 and 10, U and U, or double U. Little omega, the feminine ego, omega, omega, right? Human with source energy. Oh, me gay, happy. Georgia Peach, Otis glad she took the midnight train. The middle of the road, the night's gravelly terrain, with source raying in. Time for rain, for rays in time emitting an array, a spectrum, a light broken and expressing all the colors of the rainbow bridge before suspense collapses, which is rounded projection, lapses, rounded projection, especially east end with altar, or that rounded part of a church where the altar is, and the Statue of Liberty with an altar above it. So collapses is also collapses. Now lapses also, aspen tree and abscess also come up here, but collapses at 527, or co-11 apses, which then is like the leapfrog came up, which is like the, the little drawing you used to draw when you were young of the 2 lumps, which is somebody bending down with their butt showing, but here it's coming up as 2 butts, 2 people praying. All right? So with the spectrum of light broken and expressing or projecting all the colors of the rainbow bridge before suspense collapses. The rounded projection of the 2 butts up in the air, the collapses at 527, or co-11, aligning with apsis, which is 2 butts up in the air praying on the floor, altars, or 2 altars, and dilator, to dilate, expand, enlarge, widen, and prolong. It is also, co-altar comes up here, which is then tar, and tar is throne, the high road of 1, all throne. And again, walking the plank comes up here too, because it's the energy of going across the bridge, walking the plank, nearing the end. But with faith, right at the next step, you don't actually fall in. The collapses on 527, which is Monday and Memorial Day, right? Memorializing the wounded warrior path into the fool who takes a leap of faith. I didn't even get that before. We're moving from coal to crystal, which is the cry path of all. Going from all of co-creation to the cry path for all, to allow everyone to cry and let it out. Into the diamond crystal energy, 2 almond eyes, right? Moving from the coal to the crystalline, the diamond light, 2 almond eyes, and 2 worlds collide. Of word with light infused, which then becomes world, 2 breath and soul, life and duct and vestibule. 2 use point of origin or land, front, outside, arrangement, and function. As so light also came up here. So light and ear to hear. The dia is he, she, you, and they, godly and slide. Die and diamond. All right, so it's coming up as the dying world. Diamond, diamond, a dying world. Monday. So instead of the diamande, it's dying is the wounded warrior is dying. The victim mentality is dying. And Monday is also the first day that the world was created, 8 days a week. All right, so diamond is day, 2 days actually, right? Diet means day, and mond means Monday. So good to me here. So of course the Beatles were coming up. Monday, Monday. So good to me. M-O-N means may and might and wonder, gate, husband, and hand. It means moon and monitor, screen, to remember, family crest. My mon, I free. I am the tree with nuts and fruit, not just one or the other. So again, the 2-7 of the S and the Q, and the 52 as well, of the Queen of Swords, Lady Liberty, and Sophia's H of 1-1, the sine wave, conceive, boomerang, key. Right, so the sine wave going up and down, right, it's like before we were on the downswing and Zeus was on the upswing, and now Zeus is on the downswing and Enki or Poseidon's on the upswing, or us, okay? So here we have the sine wave and conceiving of this boomerang, right, that it does finally come around. It's just a lot of years between, and that boomerang key, and the field goal of the H for the win key, which is the twin key or Twinkie. And the baby bumblebee then came up. Bringing home a baby bumblebee, won't my mama be so proud of me? And oops, they stung me. But then I was getting the twin key of twinkle, twinkle, little star. And twinkle, K-L-E, is key. So it's twin key, little star. How I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. So all the things I just brought up. Twin key, and little is lit, beautiful, star, which is Sophia's throne, and how I wonder what, the energy, you are. But again, it just works out so perfectly. And then we lead back into the arc again. What you arc. And literally this comes up as the ark of the covenant of the ark. The W of the omega also comes up as the womb, with the direction or the movement of the penis, right? The womb is static, the penis is not, but also coming up as buoy and this buoyant energy and carnal relations. And again, the 2 circles, the 2 8s is 2 circles and 2 circles of boobs and balls. So then we have lambda, omega, trident, and Taurus all in this picture here, with the pi and the reflection of pi and the 8.888 moving into that higher energy of crystal, like moving from the golden apple after, and again we have the pi and the sun, and then we have the golden apple of the toroidal field, and then we have the golden mean and the golden rule, which we've been living under, into the crystal light as we come into this energy, which is now before. So like this is the double diamond. This is the double diamond energy, right? Where one star is here, one star is here, and then here's that third star explosion in the middle. So this diamond in the middle is literally now this. This is the shift from the crazy eights dance to this dance. All right, and so here's again that same picture I showed you in the beginning of how we progressed from these 3 circles and pressuring together the apple of my eye into the 2-7 of the apple into the infinity H, and then which is 1-1, and the bridge of 2 dimensions, 3D and 5D, and the 3-1-4 and the pi over here, and as you see the 2 flags with the eye of the vesicle Pisces in the middle, which is actually 4 circles, okay, because you have the 2 going around the donut from top down. It's the apple from the side and donut from top down under pressure. Now an elongated spin So the covenant and the ark, and again, this is the line in the middle, right? So this one little line here is that elongated spin going around in a circle like this, but you can't see it because now it's elongated the other way. So you're just seeing the line at the top of that circle, but it's actually two because they're going two in opposite directions with these static, okay? So here we have the apple and the donut, and now it's like a cigar ship. I keep getting that energy of that. The donut top down of the toroidal field, and then the spin in the donut in two directions of the hovercraft. So, yeah, and the wildebeest had come up in my notes too, and I watched Atlas last night. And the wildebeest, that same day, the wildebeest came up. I never say wildebeest. And I came will of the father beast. And then here it came up in the movie last night. And also peace to the fallen. And as soon as, oh, Harlan, if you've watched the movie, Harlan and Atlas, right, he's not a real boy. So he came up as Pinocchio as he was about to sacrifice her as the Trojan horse. Okay? So there's that other energy that will come up in a second. So now this is the last part of it. On 5/25, that is today, and it was a beautiful sunny day, by the way. And so this started out with, I had looked up the numbers, pi and 413 and 16, 18 and 727, and I'd looked them all up. And by the way, 727 was Benjamin and then be ready at 8. Quantum leap, CB prediction number, B, you can look these up too on your own as well. 83 came up, blue eyes, and then the 13th entry was blue sky, and the 20th entry was is Ophiuchus. And the numbers with Ophiuchus was 888/148, and 148 comes up for me significantly as well. So then I started writing about Vesica Pisces and breaking down the word again, which I've done before, but it's going to come up in a different way now, and that was at 9/14, which is actually the day I married my kid's dad, 9/14. But also they're supposed to be lucky numbers, the 9 and the 14. But it is the 9 of the Hermit, which is the 1 and the All, and the 14 of the Temperance card, which is the angelic energy of balancing back and forth, the weaving energy of peace. So Vesica Pisces is Vesica and Piscis. So Vesica means bladder, and Pisces is fish, and so Pisces is the plural of fish. But porpoise came up here today. Notice porpoise came up earlier in the message. And so we have the energy of the crystal, which is coming up as the Sophia's cry and Christ's stall, right, the masculine stall, being the shared pie, right, the single pie with a line down the middle, the sharing of each other, first within yourself and then with others. So the sharing pies is, and then the SCIS is sciences or skiing, yeses. Not to cut off, and knowledge to distinguish, assign, to split and dissect, and carnal relations. Or in other words, to know carnally, shared understanding with signs and knowledge. The Vesica is the bladder, the golden crown. The increment to blessedness is the quote. Or halo, circle of light, a corona. Pisces from Porco Pisces, which is a pig fish or porpoise. Pisces with the E is the fishes, so the plural of fish. And it's usually the bony fish has a special bladder. It's called a swim bladder or gas bladder. Right? It's usually filled up with oxygen to control their buoyancy. So here's that buoyancy. And also the energy, like, so it's when they're lifting up to the surface, it's more circular, but when it gets compressed into that oval, it sinks to the bottom or gets more dense. The circle of light, the golden crown, and carnal relations and sharing signs, understanding and knowledge. And again, porpoise, buoyant purpose. And so that you can look up pictures of the swim stomach, because it has like, it looks like one big stomach, like long, like I talked about. But it's actually got a separation in between, like a valve, right? So that they can control how much air is in them so they can stay buoyant or less buoyant. And so porpoise is pour and poise, which is weight, measure of weight, to ponder and think, and state of balance, composure, freedom from embarrassment, and condition of hovering. Being suspended, a counterweight, to hang in equilibrium, or to sleep over. So I was looking up porp to see if there was a word for that, but it's not. Just porpra came up, which is purple, an annual flower. So pour is number 4, and earth, land, island, fear. Leaks, dust, pig hair. Forwards, pour, feather, through, fire. And a monohull dugout canoe, which is referencing that hollowness, like to empty yourself. So PRA also came up with that word, porpra, which wasn't a part of porpoise, but that came up also as to bite, right, and to dispute. So for biting, the earth, to dispute, and fear, right? Dust, fire, and feather, meadow, field, land, and pores or holes, to dispute, right? Poking a hole in something. Annual flowering, and that's where we use a canoe, right? Purple is through the biting or dispute. And again, purple is the sign of the bruising. So porpoise is earth hovering, pondering in a state of balance, suspended, number 4, or in order to sleep over. Canoe-like fish bladder that's buoyant. And ant means biting things, cutter, to dig chasm, elk and moose, between priest and my net, which means basically what goes around comes around, and oath and duck. So duck, duck, goose comes up again with the word ant, boy ant. So buoyant is a buoy, a real live buoy, to dig their own grave. What goes around comes around. Monday, Monday, and that's Memorial Day, memorializing the wounded warrior, because we're leaving that behind for the fool's journey, to take a leap of faith with an open heart. And to control boyishness, be more feminine. In order to, or for, sleep over, hover, or lambda father leap, to be lighter inside like the divine feminine. By the way, the time here was 10:36, which is the Atlas energy. Like the divine feminine, with a womb or uterus, like an air bladder, like a fish, where uterus is, UT is C, and August, and NT, or out of NT, out of NT. So NT is neath, and I think ditto is the other word, but that came up before. But also uter-us is, it's, again, our us is coming up as ute are us. You, moral man, are us, like Toys R Us. Us who see with the letter C and see with your eyes. Let me just close this up. And remember, C is the whispering bench, the ark, the bridge, the rainbow bridge. The gold gust, which is coming up as the go word, the logarithm of word and rhythm. The God and you path together. The circle of light, the fire and life, crowning aura hovering above in peace. Through the ring of fire, a double bladder where baby in uterus squishes the bladder flat to empty the water out and make room for density to come through. When the uterus is emptied, the bladder fills up in order to rebalance the emptied sac, just like the scales, or having a sac on each scale. When one side or sac fills up, another window or door must open to the air, and then the lungs come up. Hold your breath to be more buoyant. Be you, oi, ant. the O of human embodiment of source at 0 point, the lower gamma. The body's midpoint is just below the navel. Breathe into the bottom of the lungs. There's that navel reference too for Memorial Day. Breathe into the bottom of the lungs in order to rebalance your weightiness at 1054, which is the wheel and the page of swords, which we started out with right here. Monday, Monday, the Mun key. May, might, the moon, gate, and husband. Hand in hand to wonder, remember, I, tree with fruit and nuts. The family crest of rock and stone, fixed and rolling. Mary and Jesus with space between to embody source. And then Thursday came up, which Thurs means a demon or beast. So here's again this balance between the light and the dark. 5/27/2024, moon gate came up for me. The time and date. So of course it took me to it took me to Gate Gap, Tennessee when I put in moon gate because I didn't know what that was. But there's some kind of moon gate on the 27th, which is this end of the Wounded Warrior path. And Gate Gap, Tennessee came up, which is really funny because I was born in Memphis and I live in Philadelphia. And that was at 11:33, which is that aligning with that Christ consciousness. So then I was just looking up to see if there was any special aspects on 5/27, and that's when I realized that it was Memorial Day. And when I put 5/27/2024 in to see what might come up that day, you know how it always calculates 5/27, the division there, and it came up as 91494656712E-05 for Memorial Day. And the numbers come up as the Hermit and the Angel, and 9 and 4, which are lucky, the 65 of the King of Pentacles, the 6 of the Lovers, and then 71 of the 3 of Pentacles, which for me is co-creation, and then the 2 of the Q, or 2E, the Temple, to embody freedom. Free divine Om, or home. So then I put 52, the date. So 5/27/2024, I literally wrote up at the top, you can see here, and I was rewriting it in square, and it literally came up as this. So it's like there's a heart here and an egg over here, and these are these numbers squared, 5/27/24. So it's coming up as the Purple Heart Memorial Day, the 27th, and the Apple Heart and the egg, the Queen of Swords, which is 52, and birthing the Queen of Wands, which is 24, and Omega. And notice it's Ega, don't let go of my ego. Omega, which is don't let go of my ego. Birthing the Queen of Wands, 24, which is also the 24th pair of chromosomes being activated. But also the action of 25, right? So the Queen of Wands is 24, but today is the 25. It's the 25th of the Knight of Wands taking action. So the Queen of Swords is birthing those numbers together of 52 and 25 squared, literally makes a DNA chain connected. The ladder, the window, the wall, the fence, and the wall, right here. And also 25 and 52 makes the potion bottle, reflecting the TV on a stand like this in either direction, which I was getting the double altar here too. So again, 52 completely reflected is still 52, and 25 is the same. The magic potion and plasma TV releasing the ether was coming up here. Like the 2 fish that I just showed you reflecting, the window that opens, and the energy of like a glass of water on a water bottle, they're showing me that it's cleansing it. The container supports cleaner water, the plasma cleaner air. And then they showed me my plug-in, because I got a plug-in, you know, to clear the air, the ionizers, and it's shaped like the flask and the fish. And when you plug plug-ins in, they would be in opposite directions, right? Because there's no room on the plug to plug them in the same way. So they'd be kissing each other like the fish. So 2 sockets, 1 up, 1 down, and apple for heart, egg, and eye. the buoyant purpose, the buoy 1T purpose, which is the rocket blasting off or lightening up to no end, but with end in mind, never nearing the end, and again, like walking the plank. The porpoise, the buoyant porpoise, the earth hovers and ponders just like you, to hang in equilibrium, suspended, to sleep over, hollowed canoe. The whispering bench for finding state of balance, a lighter place in the meadow with purple annual flowers, bulbs and irises, and filler or filar flowers. I'm getting phyllodoe for whatever reason, but Philadelphia was coming up there too with filler flowers, phyla flowers. And then I looked up F flowers to see what they were trying to get at, and they gave me a little story of F flowers here. Fairy duster with false ego, fans flower fern who leaves to eat, or to leaves with fever on fire, few and pink, a firecracker with a 5 spot, and flame nettles or irritates, the flannel and flax flowers here, floss flower, forget me not, forsythia or forsythia, 4 o'clock, fox with glove, which I was just thinking of Michael Jackson, I didn't think of that before, fox God's love, frangipani, which is breaking bread with Fran, which then freesia, which is freeze ya up, French marigold, to freak arts aster or freak arts a star, fuchsia, which is fuchsia or to ski, due to fume wort or the stink of their feet. So that was what came up. But then Soel and Sophia, F-U-C, Kia. Digamma twin flame is the F. You seek, U-C, which is also the Holy Grail and the Holy Communion. So twin flames, Holy Grail and calm communion. And then Kia, which was coming up as the Digamma twin flame, you seek Ea, or that number 40, that energy of arc energy of Ea. Right, so now we're talking about Ea and getting the humans off the planet, right? And then Mamma Mia, Papa Pia came up, and then Papuli came up again, and Baby Pip. A die or 2 are Ea. Poseidon adventure, or plus side on advent that you are. Med USA, which is Medusa, birthing Pegasus, the flyer and the shit, and grounded quiet bull, Chrysaor, the pip. And also Pico energy came up there as well. Me Ed, you say, just say the word. As Pegasus came up as the flyer here, and Chrysaor as the bull. And again, but Pegasus is pegged as Zeus, and Chrysaor is cries Eeyore, pegged as ass or donkey, which is Zeus. So they're both being pegged in the wrong way. Me Ed, you say, just say the word, when actually this is actually the monkey's uncle, right? Ea is the monkey's uncle. Right? And then donkey being Zeus. So Pegasus pees and gassy a lot, and Chrysaor cries and complains. So bull and the shit go very well together, like 2 peas in a pod or chrysalis. Now Atlas came up last night with Smith and Lost in Space. Peace to the fallen and rise and be love, as he was Pinocchio and she was the Trojan horse. He wanting to be a real live boy and she a real live Pegasus. Really getting in there to make a change or difference, as long as he gets more buoyant and boyish, and she more like Mr. Ed. Then Athena, aka Hercules, will give Atlas a break and stand her ground in France and USA. A gift to Medusa, who's now Pegasus, as now they understand each other. Athena and Medusa, because they are both the boars, they're both the boys their father didn't have. And so then the two ladies forgave each other and their masculine sides. Uncle Zeus, or Enlil are now chill on the dark side of the moon for now. And that ended right at 3 o'clock on the nose. So there you go. I loved that stuff. Can you believe all that information? All right, so now just a quick message for you guys from the Messages of Love Oracles to close this up at 155:14, which is the Magician and the Truth and the Angels. Perfect. All right, for the best and highest good of all those concerned, what is our closing message here? So we're in faith when we walk off the plank. I just saw the twin flame card in there. All right, obstacles. Unhealed wounds are blocking forward movement. This person is unable to give you all you deserve. This friendship is leading to more, though, is what they're saying. You need to change to be on the same page to cross the bridge. You and this person, I'm not telling you to change. I'm saying you need to, you're both the same, but you need to change the form so that they're compatible. Just like in the math problem, you have to make it the same on both sides in order to multiply or divide or whatever. You and this person don't share the same vision at the moment, and healing old wounds and childhood issues that need revisiting, which is why you're not at the same place right now. And I'm getting Park Place. Oh, you have to get to, what's the other one? I haven't played Monopoly in so long. What's the best? Park Place is the second to best one, but what's the best? Park Place and, I don't know, I can't think of it. This is the underlying energy, here and now. Your true love is already a part of your life. Because there is forgiveness. Forgiving yourself and another will help you move forward, which is here and now. Okay? But also they're telling you that, don't forget Monday, there's a literal shift on the 27th off of this wounded warrior path. There's like a physical change in the earth. So crazy. All right, guys. I'm just noticing the pyramid up here too with the moon. Moon gate. And the dark side of the moon. And this big change on Monday. 5:27 at 8 o'clock. But 4 o'clock came up too. So either which way, remember at 4, we're leaving the crazy eights dance though into the square, which is the 4. Very interesting. We're going back to the other way. Okay. Remember your water, your rest, your joy, and getting out there in nature and your nature. I will see you guys next time. Rise and be love. Have an amazing week. Bye.